迷惑。生きるとは確かにそうじゃ。お前を愛した人間の数だけお前の死は迷惑である。陛下クマ、お前こそヒーローじゃ。
ボニーに会ったらこう伝えてくれないか。10歳の誕生日。おめでとう。
One moment you're laughing at Luffy being an idiot, and the next you're crying because a ship just said thank you. So grab some tissues because we're about to relive those moments that made us cry in One Piece. But before we jump back into the emotional gut punches of One Piece, let's talk about something that'll have you crying tears of joy. Thanks to the sponsor of this video, Opera GX, the browser built for anime fans and gamers who refuse to be basic. Most browsers, they're like filler arcs, draggy, forgettable, and nobody's favorite episode. Opera GX is the main arc showdown, fast, stylish, and ridiculously customizable. With GX mods, you can kit out your browser like it's your personal anime world. Animated wallpapers, custom sounds, background music, even shaders that change your whole vibe. Want a One Piece Zoro theme? Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen? Maybe some lo-fi anime chill beats. It's all in the GX store, ready to just mix and match. Need to binge while working or studying? Video pop-out lets your anime follow you across every tab. And with the quick import tool, switching from your old browser is faster than Luffy firing off a jet gatling. Big thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Download it for free using my link in the description and pinned comment and level up your browsing game today.
人はいつ死ぬと心臓をピストルで撃ち抜かれた時、違う猛毒キノコのスープを飲んだ時、違う人に忘れられた時さ。俺が消えても俺の夢は叶う。まったくいい人生だった。ありがとよチョッパー。
To start things off, let's talk about Dr. Hiriluk, whose death scene broke us early on. This man literally left a legacy. He stands as one of the realest people in One Piece. He cured the real disease eating away at the kingdom, hopelessness. When he found out Walpole's soldiers tricked him and he didn't need to die, he just smiled and walked to his death. It's just one of those moments that stay with you for life, you know. It was the birth of the message that defines One Piece. People die, but dreams don't, and neither do memories. This scene genuinely made us cry. What kind of pirate anime hits you with philosophy during a doctor's death? It only happens in One Piece.
いい子、風邪ひくなよ。
オーナーぜー、この子は一生忘れません。寂しいぞ。寂しいぞ。悲しさつつバカ野郎どもが、男は黙って別れるもんだぞ。また会おうぜ、クソ野郎ども。
Now, this one scene just hits different when you're older. When you first see it, you might not cry, but after the whole Cake Island fiasco, yes, and I'm talking full tears. This was all about a son saying goodbye to the only father figure he had. Zeph didn't say good luck or be strong. He just said don't catch a cold. That one line wrecked people. It's such a dad thing to say, isn't it? And it carried everything Sanji needed to hear at that moment. Zeph saved Sanji's life, gave him purpose, and raised him to be a better man. Sanji knew it, and we knew it too.
俺たち行くよ。ありがとう。
麦ちゃん、必ず兄貴作ってこいよ。
おっちゃん、お久しぶりね。おかまの別れに言葉はいらない。おっちゃ
And just when you think One Piece can't get more emotional than found family and father figures, Bon Clay enters the chat. This man pulled off the most unexpected emotional 180 in the series. Dude wasn't even a straw hat, but decided to throw himself into danger for Luffy. That's loyalty on another level. It just blows my mind how Oda takes a loud Okama villain and makes him the most ride or die friend in the entire series. When he held that lever at Impel down and said goodbye with a smile, I mean, that was painful, pure pain. He's not on the sunny, but he'll always be in our hearts.
あいつは自由だ。愛してるぜ。
お前はもう自由なんだ。
We sail into the next on the list, one of the most painfully underrated heartbreaks in One Piece history, Corazone's death. This man's heart was so big, it literally became his name. And trust me, if you didn't cry here, you might want to get your tear ducts checked, you know. This man died silently, even until the end. Corazon protected Law with everything he had. He literally fought to stay alive just so Law's cries wouldn't be heard and he could escape. The moment Law's voice returned and we saw him cry, that's when we knew Corazon was gone. The man who never said much ended his life with words that are often brushed aside. He saw Law's only light in a world that gave him none. He was goofy, clumsy, always falling over, but in the end, he stood taller than anyone. Corazon was the kind of man who smiled so someone else could live.
勝負あったな。
バカ野郎。はい。
それがキャプテンだろ。迷うな。俺たちは誰を信じりゃいいんだよ。俺たちはもうこの船には。
The next clash hurt in ways that no villain fight ever could. Luffy versus Usopp. You see, Luffy didn't want to fight, and Usopp knew he couldn't win, but he still went off. He was pulling out weapons like it was Minecraft creative mode. Dials, fire stars, exploding gas, slingshot snipes, egg bombs, impact dials. Man even hit Luffy with the random bullshit go technique. He basically turned the fight into a war of wits. This desperate act of defiance actually hurt Luffy, and all of us. By the end, when Luffy finally lands that final hit, there's no victory, just two broken hearts parting ways. To be honest, seeing both of these characters in so much pain just kills me every time. Sometimes the hardest battles aren't with the villains, but with the people you love the most.
し
Yes, Nico Robin's backstory is here to destroy your soul. Imagine being hunted down by the entire world at age 8. Like, bro, you're still learning how to multiply, and suddenly there's a bounty poster with your face on it calling you a demon. That's Robin. The world government slapped a 79 million bounty on her head just because she could read some rocks. The most heartbreaking part is that she had to watch her home island, Ohara, burn. Every single person she loved was gone, and all she could do was run over and over again. She ran to survive all those years. Every crew she joined betrayed her. Every place she stayed, she had to just leave. She genuinely believed that she was cursed. That's exactly why Eni's lobby hit so hard. And we cried because she stopped running. She stopped surviving. She finally started living.
最後の旅で悪い女に数年俺は奴隷だったそこで見たのは人間の狂気逃げ出したが放ってはおけなかっただから頼む何も伝えるな体がその血を拒絶する俺はもう人間を愛せねえ
おかしらそんなこと言わんで生きてくれ生きられる命なんじゃ
Yes, Let's talk about Fisher Tiger next, who showed us all what it costs to stand tall in a broken world. You see, Fisher Tiger was the strongest man in the room, but he was also the one crying the most. That scene where he breaks down and his crew doesn't is one of the most human moments in One Piece. You get it when you've lived enough. He couldn't bring himself to accept a human's blood, even if it meant dying. One thing about Fisher Tiger was that he didn't hate blindly, but he also couldn't forgive, and that made his death feel real. He wanted peace, but the world never gave it to him. He freed slaves, raised the flag of the Sun Pirates, and tried to change things his way. But in the end, he couldn't escape the trauma. This man was a symbol of a broken cycle that never got fixed in time.
もう死ぬんだ。
死ぬってなんで助けるよ。ジニー、すぐ助けに行くから。どこにいるのよ。クモ、どこ行くの。
ドラゴン、兄貴、優しすぎるクマチーをよろしくね。そしてクマチーずっと大好き。
ジニー、ジニー、どうして何があった。
おいしい。結婚しようよ、クマチ。幸せにしてやるからよ、クマチ。
Have you ever seen a scene so cruel that it makes you feel like your soul's being torn into two? Ginny's death was that moment. Now, Ginny was the kind of woman who could make jokes under pressure, spit in the face of tyranny, and still love fiercely in a world that gave her nothing but pain. That's what made her fate so unbearably cruel. Kidnapped by a celestial dragon, stripped of her freedom, and forced into hell disguised as a palace. She came back years later, not with a vengeance, but with a terminal disease and one last message, a goodbye, but not to the world, to Kuma, the only man who ever saw her for who she really was. The most gut-wrenching part of this is that Kuma never got to hear her final words. One of the fastest men alive, and he was still too slow to hold her one last time. It's moments like these that make me want to see the celestial dragons burn.
主君を守ることは当然。
安家殿。
許せ、男、お前を残してゆく父よ。よし、打ち方やめ。
やせな。
And then we've got one of the most gut-wrenching moments in all of Wano, Yasui's execution and Toko's smile tragedy. Yasui, the former daimyo of Hakumai, could have lived like royalty, but instead he chose to act like a clown so the people of Ebisu could keep laughing, even when the world had taken everything from them. And during his execution, he turned the entire thing into a performance, laughing until the very end, trying to lift the spirits of a broken country. All while his daughter Toko ran toward him with that fake smile-induced grin on her face, desperately trying to save him with Usopp's healing oil, not realizing there was actually nothing that she could do. This was the moment that broke all of us. But hey, look, he didn't die for nothing. Yasui's final words sparked something. They reignited the fire in Wano's people, a fire even Kaido couldn't stomp out.
俺なんかに出会いさえしなければ。
あなた、ありがとう。
すまない。君を失いたくなくて、俺は嘘をついたんだ。
あの方、最近よく見かけるわね。
返事が聞きたい。もう一度。ギムレットと同じボンネットを見つけたんだ。もう一度笑顔を。ルシアン。
This next one will make you question why in the world you're crying over the baby guy with a diaper. What started as a goofy background character suddenly turned into one of the saddest stories in One Piece. His wife, Russian, stopped speaking after their child died and she hated everything about the pirates. So what did Pink do? He dressed like their son, just to make her smile again, just to keep her in this world for that little bit longer. He became a clown for love, a joke in the eyes of the world, but a hero in his own silent war. And when you watch him take hit after hit during that fight with Frankie, it stops being funny. Senor Pink never asked for sympathy, but he did earn our respect. That's peak Oda, making you cry over the most ridiculous things.
俺たちは必ずここへ戻る。
Let's talk about Brook, the skeleton with an afro. But underneath all that goofy charm is one of the saddest stories in One Piece. This man is dead, but somehow this man just keeps going. Brook's backstory hits hard, but what really gets you is the moment when he plays Bink's Sake all alone on that dusty piano in the middle of a haunted ship. It's just him alone, remembering the Rumbar pirates and the promise they made to Laboon that they'd come back and sing that song again. After 50 years of isolation, after watching everyone he loved die, Brook keeps his promise. That moment shows how powerful hope can actually be. You laugh at Brook because he's goofy, but then he hits you with something like this. It's a quiet scene, but one that punches you right in the gut.
無駄じゃ。わしらは心を決めておる。どきなさい、ナミ。
ルフィ、あんたには関係ないから。
ああ、言われた。
出てけ！出てけ！出てけ！ルフィ、助けて。
Of course, we won't forget the moment that turned One Piece from fun pirate show to peak storytelling, Nami's breakdown in Arlong Park. Now, up until that point, we never saw Nami cry, but we couldn't just hold back our tears when we saw her sitting helplessly like a child on the ground, stabbing her tattoo over and over. That line hit like a train to the chest, because Nami never asked for help. She handled her own mess without any help from anyone. But in that 1 second, she dropped the act, and it felt like the world stopped. She looked like a helpless little girl who just couldn't take it anymore, and Luffy just calmly places his straw hat on her head and heads straight for the beatdown of the century. This is the moment Nami stopped being just a crewmate and became part of the family. That's when One Piece said, this show is clearly not a goofy pirate show.
断る。
だから一緒に海賊やろう。
Some fights don't need villains to break your heart, and Luffy going against Sanji proves that point. In the ever-changing world of One Piece, sometimes the most painful scenes aren't when someone dies, or when someone you love tries to push you away. The moment Sanji started kicking Luffy in the whole Cake Island arc is one of those moments. Sanji is trying to protect the people who raised him. His fists say leave, but his eyes are screaming, please understand. And Luffy just stands there refusing to lift a hand. Sanji wasn't allowed to cry, so we cried for him. He was drowning in guilt, stuck in a royal prison with golden bars, doing everything he could to protect the people he cared about, even if it meant pretending he didn't care at all. And Luffy saw through all of it. That was the moment that hit our chests like a truck, because Sanji needed to hear that he was wanted, not as a soldier, not as a prince, but just as Sanji. And Luffy, in the most Luffy way possible, told him, you matter, you're irreplaceable, come home.
ごめんね。もっとみんなを遠くまで運んであげたかった。だけど僕は
ごめんつーなら家事下手だからよ。こう破ったこともあるしよ。いろんなもん壊すしよ。ウソップが直すんだけど下手くそでよ。ごめんつーなら。
今まで大切にしてくれてどうもありがとう。僕は本当に幸せだった。君たちがいたから。
Are you ready to get emotionally wrecked now? Because I'm not. The Going Merry funeral is just existentially cruel. Like, we're all out here watching One Piece, expecting adventure laughs and some epic punches, and then suddenly we're sobbing over a ship, a boat that talked, a ship that apologized for breaking, a boat that thanked the crew for loving her. It hurt so bad because the Straw Hats lost their first ever home. That line, I'm sorry, but I was happy, should have come with a warning label. It shattered us, didn't it? Despite everything, Going Merry was loved, and that love made her real. God, Oda is an absolute menace, isn't he? He made us cry over planks and nails like they were flesh and blood. We're talking about a ship that somehow had more character development than half the anime protagonists out there.
どれだけ無様に生きようがとお前は語り継がれる。生きていく。行ってまいる。逃げてなんぼの。
Okay, so we've cried over ships, we've cried over our brothers, and we've even cried over the undead. But then comes that moment in Wano. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Oden in the pot. You see, One Piece is full of deaths, but there are some deaths that we can never get over. We're talking about a man carrying the weight of a country, his crew, and years of betrayal, all while literally cooking alive. And what stings the most is that he actually had it in the bag. Oden beats Kaido straight up, but unfortunately, he was cheated. He was cheated by time, politics, and the people he tried to save. And yet, the man smiles. He smiles as he holds his men up like a human bridge for an hour. He smiles as they shoot him, because Gozuki Oden wasn't afraid to die. He just needed to make sure someone else lived, and that they remembered. If that's not a tearjerker, then I don't know what is. Next up, we have this highly emotional moment when Kumar separates the Straw Hats. At first, it did feel like betrayal. Kumar, silent and untouchable, made everyone vanish one by one, and Luffy could do nothing but scream as his family disappeared. And back then, we hated him for it. We felt devastated watching Luffy howl like that was his failure. But now, knowing what we know about Kuma, is devastating in a whole new way. Kuma was using the last shred of his free will before losing his mind, his body and everything that made him human to protect Luffy and his crew. He knew they weren't ready for what was coming. He knew if they stayed, they'd die. So he made the impossible choice to hurt them in order to save them, and it broke him too. Watching Luffy collapse, thinking he failed to protect his crew, while Kuma stood there, stone-faced but aching inside, just shattered our hearts into a million pieces.
みんなに届くような声は出せねえ。俺がこれから言うことを今日までこんなどうしようもねえ。ありがとう。
Ace's death is one of those scenes that lives rent-free in every One Piece fan's heart. The kind that doesn't just leave a mark, but a gaping hole, pun intended there. From the moment we meet him, Ace felt like a character destined for greatness. And for an entire arc, we watched Luffy throw his life on the line, breaking Impel down, storming Marineford, facing off against warlords and admirals, all to save his brother. And when Ace was finally freed, we exhaled. We actually thought they made it, but then, in one cruel twist, Akainu's fist ripped that hope away. The blow meant for Luffy landed on Ace, who died in his brother's arm, smiling through the pain, thanking him for loving him. His final words hit like a truck, exposing the quiet burden he carried, the need to know his life mattered. And that's when Luffy broke. The ever-smiling captain, who'd always gotten back up no matter what, just collapsed. His scream wasn't grief, it was pure devastation. In a world full of devil fruits and power-ups, in this moment we were reminded even the strongest aren't immune to loss. And sometimes, all you can do is scream.
クマ
怪我してる。
元気にやってるか？
僕のご主人様は優しくて。
そうか。
あと、お母さんは元気にしてる？
クマ、あのな、母さんが死んだよ。なあ、クマ。お前は強い。解放の戦士が現れる。太陽の神、ニカ。彼がいつかお前を自由な海へ。ニカはいつでも笑ってるんだ。どんどっとっとどんどっとどんどっとっとどんどっとっとどんどっと。
Let's not pretend we're ready for Kumar's backstory, because clearly we weren't. Have you ever seen something so dark, so unnecessarily cruel, it just leaves you sitting there in silence? That's what Kumar's backstory does. We've seen countless villains in One Piece that are petty, but celestial dragons take it to another level. They just inflict pain and enjoy the process. Kumar was born into that kind of world. His very existence marked him for suffering. When a celestial dragon pulls a gun, it's routine. It's different when you realize Kumar's entire story has been a slow descent from freedom to silence. He was called a tyrant, but that was a lie. They painted over his humanity with rumors because the truth would break people, and it broke us. My wife cried so much that I ran out of tissues by the end. I mean, can you blame her?
返させてくれ。
ほら見ろ、体が軽いんだよ。待ってよ。
何もかも無事なわけねえ。いた？脅かしやがって。なんだこの血の量は！おめえ生きてんのか？
何もなかった。
there's loyalty, and then there's Zoro. This man took one for the team in this scene and he absolutely tanked it for the captain. Pain meant for Luffy, damage that should have killed him 10 times over, Zoro swallowed it whole and never made a sound. And what followed was nothing short of insane. The man stood there, drenched in blood like he just walked out of a horror movie and dared to say nothing happened. Bro, something definitely happened. This scene is peak Zoro, and I swear I started respecting him on an entirely new level after this. His loyalty is terrifying. Let's be honest, you know this man struck that pose on purpose. Just like in Little Garden, arms folded, ready to die, but still trying to look cool doing it. Now that's Zoro. I absolutely bawled my eyes out after watching this scene.
ワンピースは実在する。許せ、息子たち。おめえたちには全てをもらった。ここまでだ。と長く旅をした。いい航海だった。おめえ、一体何が欲しいんだ？家族、息子たち。死んでやがる。
After breaking Luffy, the world shook because Whitebeard was the next to fall. The death of Edward Newgate, the strongest man in the world, was a literal earthquake in the balance of power. Whitebeard went out like a myth. Standing tall with half his face gone, organs melted, and over 260 wounds with not a single one on his back. Because this man never ran. Even as the Navy, Blackbeard, and the world itself tried to bring him down, Whitebeard held the line. He declared that the One Piece was real, flipping the world on its head with his final breath. And then he died standing. It's absolutely heartbreaking how this man chose to die. He could have left, but he stayed behind for his sons. He died like a father, protecting his children. And when someone that huge falls, the whole world feels it.
このまま黙って別れましょう。
左腕のこれが仲間の印だ。
You know how action speaks louder than words? This moment right here defines that saying when the Straw Hats part ways with Princess Vivi after the Alabaster arc. After fighting side by side, enduring battles, and forming a deep bond, Vivi makes the painful decision to stay behind and fulfill her duty as a princess. She can't leave with them, but she doesn't want to say goodbye either. Instead, she gives a heartfelt speech over a Den Mushi, asking if they'll still consider her a friend. The crew, unable to respond openly due to being pursued by the Marines, raise their arms in silence, each bearing the X mark they made together. That simple gesture speaks volumes. No words, just a silent promise of eternal friendship. It's a raw, beautiful scene that captures the heart of One Piece. Bonds that go beyond the sea. And with that, we're wrapping up our list of moments that made us cry in One Piece. There's no way we covered all of them, so drop your favorite moments in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more juicy anime content. You can also join my members community for some early videos. Catch you in the next one.